I love dragons in death, cause they are fun.
Alright, y'all. Okay, I just finished chapter 1, which is Bran or whatever. So we cut, like Will gets choked out and starts praying, gives himself up. Okay, we cut, and Bran, the Muffin Man, or the little Muffin Boy, he's like 7. He is going to the like an execution, like a beheading and stuff, because his dad, Ned Stark, he is the king of Winterfell. Like, he's like the king, right? And they mention a few people, like there's a Tory who's like, I think he minds the horses, or like he's a servant. There's like a Desmond that they mention. I didn't catch who Desmond was. Probably have to go back and redo it, but I want to give like my impression first. Then you got Rob, who's Bran's older brother and stuff. All these kids are pretty young though. Like, I'm saying, like, older brother and stuff. I think Rob is like early 20s or 19. There's a ward with Ned Stark. His name is like Theon Greyjoy. He's 19. There's a bastard son who's like dark complected. He's like the mirror image of Rob, kind of like Rob's like fair. Jon's like dark and stuff. So picture me, Jon Snow, same coloring and stuff. I'm gonna just picture myself. What's up? I like it. Right? Because I'm kind of a bastard. So I disown my father. So yeah. Anyway, so like they're going and they're riding out, and who is on the wall? Like, Bran is sitting there and he's thinking like, oh, it's gonna be like a wildling, and apparently his nana has been getting in his head, telling him some wild stuff about wildlings, like they steal babies and they'll run off. The women sleep with monsters, or they say others, and make like half human babies. They hang out with like giants and trolls and all sorts of, like, they're just evil monster boogeyman, right? So Bran's like, my dad's gonna kill a boogeyman. This is gonna be lit, right? And like, he's on his little pony trying to keep up with everybody and their big horses, and they get there, and he looks up on the wall, and my dude is disappointed. He's just like, what? Because it's Garrett on the wall, right? Because, like, think about it. Like, Garrett, when he takes his hood down, he's like, I lost 2 ears, my pinky, and 3 toes to the cold, right? And then you hear him like do that badass like double hand, and he's like, don't come any closer. And then you don't really hear about Garrett, and the rest of the encounter. Like Will climbs down, he gets murked, by the Deb Royce or whoever. And it's like, I thought I missed something like before. And I guess what happened is Garrett was like, he saw the white guys, because remember, like, he was real like, ooh, or we should start a fire for something. And I'm thinking, because it was super cold, when the white guys showed up, like, I think that's why he wanted to do the fire. So he already had it in his head, and then he saw him and he's like, peace. As soon as Royce like charged in, he's like, this fool's gonna get me killed, right? Because what they say is like, Bran's super disappointed because it's an old wildling with no ears who had lost a finger to the frostbite, right? And I believe he says very old, and Garrett, right, he had possibly completed like hundreds of rangings, meaning he had been around a long time. So he fits the bill. It has to be Garrett, right? And because I'll tell you, he says it's an oathbreaker later, from the watch. So our boy Garrett like ran all the way back and was like, I gotta talk to the king. And instead of talking to the king, I guess the king just cuts his freaking head off. So, job security and all. I don't know. But like, Theon is a little, okay, I don't like Theon, okay, he's a little douche, all right, because like we're sitting there and stuff, and you know they steal Bran, you know, like his brothers, like yo, okay, this is gonna be rough, don't look away, because dad'll know, you know. So he's telling him, he's like hold on to your pony, don't look away, because they're trying to like guide him and make sure like he's gonna be like a good son and his dad's not gonna be disappointed, right? And they're being good brothers, you know. They're like, all right, buckle up, buddy, and stuff. And they mention like you know, John's like sitting there like he's been through this a few times, which John is only like 14, so I don't know. And Theon, they said, is like 19, so like we're talking like little teenagers. And so, and the king himself is only 35, which means he's younger than me. So I don't know, somebody king me anyway. Hold on. But anyway, so Ned walks over, and apparently he has this badass sword, right? It's called Ice, and Theon's holding it for him like a little ward, you know. He's like, oh, here's your sword. And apparently the sword is bigger than Rob, like a whole person, and it's made of Valyrian steel. And that means, like, they said something like it's been dark spelled, and it can hold an edge like nothing else. So I guess this Valyrian steel is like super like adamantite, you know, +5 sword kind of thing, because there's like nothing better, and it's the king's sword, so you know, why would he have like a +2 sword, right? So or if you're 3rd or 5th edition, the +3 sword, I don't they changed all anyway. So he just whoop, right, and Garrett's head goes off. You know, they never say it's Garrett, but it's freaking Garrett, all right? So it goes off, it rolls, it like hits a root, and then it rolls, and it goes to the like Theon's boot, right? And this Theon is he laughs, he's like, and then he kicks the head, right in front of like poor Bran watching and everything. Bran does pretty good. You know, he's holding his pony, he's like watching all the blood going in his soul, like his innocence lost. He's like for a minute, but then, you know, his brothers are like, yo, you did good, you know. And they start riding back, and Rob and John, they start having like a little bit of a contest, you know, with each other. And Theon's saying some stuff, but they're like, you know, Rob's like, you know, it was a brave death, like the guy died bravely, you know. And John's like, he had fear in his eyes, man, he was scared to death, you know. And they're kind of like, and then, you know, as teenage boys do, they kind of drop it for a bigger sense of competition. And he's like, I'll race you to the bridge, you know. And they're like, pew, pew, right? And friggin' poor Bran's just sitting there like, I'm on a pony. You know, so he's just trotting along. And then Big Papa Stark, right? He's like showing up next to Bran. He like rides up behind him while he's lost in thought. And you know, he's like trying to do the dad thing. And he's like, hey little buddy, how you doing? And Bran's like, do you think he was brave when he died? Because Rob said it was a brave death, and John said he was scared. And you know, he did the dad thing, like Ned being like Big Papa Ned. He's like, well, what do you think, little muffin man? And he's like, can you be both? Like, can you be brave and be scared? And Ned, like a pimp, he's just like, Bran, that's the only time you can be brave. Which kind of hit me. I was like, damn, that's some dad advice. I need a better father figure in my life. Right? But anyway, so they start going, and then whoosh, going back, one of the boys, they're like, yo, come look at what we found, right? And they're like, oh man, and Jory's like, oh god, because like they know it's coming. And he's like, what do you go? You think we should go? And Ned's like, yeah, let's see what trouble they got into. So like he already knows his score. Like he knows some fuckery's going down, right? So they go out to the the place where the boys are and stuff, and instantly everybody's like, get away from me, because I guess there's this giant wolf, right? And it's like bigger than Bran's pony, and they're talking, and Rob's down there, and he's like holding some stuff, and they're like, oh, what's up, and he's like, found a wolf, pretty much. And they're all like, oh, that sucks, what killed her? And Rob's like real proud of himself. He's like, oh, check a jaw, and Ned pulls out like this giant antler out of the poor dead wolf and stuff, and they're like, dang, I'm surprised she could give birth, because Rob is holding like a little puppy. And Bran, that's all Bran really sees. Like, he just puppy, right? so Rob's like, it's okay, you can hold her, and Bran's like holding a puppy, and it's like, this is the best day ever, like, I have a puppy, right? Because if you think about it, like, he just watched someone get executed. He probably needed like a teddy bear, and then he's holding a puppy, and so he's getting attached like hard. Meanwhile, they're like, oh yeah, we should probably put these down because they're gonna starve to death, and stuff. And they talk a little bit about like how sometimes wolves can give birth, like even when they're dead, and it's kind of weird, but that's what they're thinking happened. Like she squirted out her puppies like after she took the antler and stuff. And John, actually, he knows what's up. They're like, why is this wolf is huge? And John's like, yo, this is a dire wolf. And then Theon, being like a little minion again, he's like, there hasn't been like a dire wolf south of the wall in forever, like 50 years. And John's like, well, there's one, because I have a feeling John is like getting sick of Theon a little bit. I think it ticked him off that he kicked the head or whatever, but that's like subtext, just because he's real short with Theon, like that entire chapter. And Theon's like, well, better to kill him quickly, and starts pulling his sword out, right? And freaking John, like, Bran is instantly like sketched. He's just like, no, my puppy, And John is like, he just cuts him a look. He's like Theon, I will mess you up, right? and they're like, oh well, it's true. And like Bran's like looking at his dad like, Dad, help me. And his dad's just like frowning like, I ain't taking care of no 5 dire wolf puppies, because they're dire wolves, you know what I mean? And like he's telling Bran, even he's like, that's a murder machine, right? Like, if you don't train it right, like, it'll kill people. And Bran's like, I don't care, I want to a puppy, So like John he's like using his mental mind and stuff, and he's like, well, hold up. And he doesn't call him Dad, because I guess John's a bastard. He doesn't call Ned Stark Dad. He's just like, well, hold up, Lord Stark, like using his official title. So everybody's like, oh, John's doing something, right? Because Rob is actually of the same mind. He's like, yo, I'll take care of this wolf. Like, I want a wolf, and stuff. And John's like, look, she had 5 wolves, okay? 3 of them are men, or 3 of them are boys, 2 of them are girls. And Stark's like, uh-huh. And he's like, yo, this is your sigil, though. Like, it's all these puppies are gray. you know, they're dire wolves, and you have 3 boys and 2 girls. Like, maybe your kids should raise them. You know what I mean? Cause like Ned is sitting there. He's just like, how are we even gonna feed them, man? Like, and you know, the one, they're like, oh well, the wolfhound the one hound at the castle just had puppies. Like, she only had 2. She's got spare milk, and they're like, she'll tear them apart if they try to nurse on her and stuff. So finally, like, Rob and Bran, like, they combine forces, and they're like, we'll nurse them ourselves and stuff. And Bran notices, like, kind of like a thing. John, looking out for Bran, actually cut himself out of the deal, because John would be the 6th kid, you know, but because he's a bastard, you know. So like Ned tries to play that angle. He's like, oh, you don't want a wolf, you know? And John is just like, hey man, I'm a Snow, I'm not a Stark, because I guess all the bastards in the realm, you know, they go by Snow if they don't get born to a name. So him being a bastard, he's Jon Snow, and he's not Jon Stark. So like, he's like, no man, it's all good, like, you know, because I think he's like trying to protect Bran's feelings, you know, like, because there's 2 or 3 times where he genuinely tries to like look out for Bran, you know, because Bran's like 7. and like he's finally like, fine, you know, because Rob is also sitting there like, yo, I'll take care of him and stuff. And he's just like, all right, Jory, Desmond, pack them up, I guess we got wolves now. Right? And like, he relents, and like they're going, and they start riding off, you know. And this is another part where I think like John was just done with Theon, like, already, because John stops and he's like, yo, y'all hear that? And they're like, no, what? You know, and Bran's like holding his little puppy, and he's like, I'll just hear my puppy. You know, like, because he's like, my puppy, right? And John's like, hold up. And he goes back, and there's a 6th wolf. But unlike the other wolves, this wolf is like albino. Like, it has red eyes, and it's totally white and stuff. And John's just like sitting there like nice. And Theon goes for his sword again, because he's a little douche, right? So John, again, man, he just, you know, like, he's like, touch my wolf, you know, because he's like, oh, an albino, that one's gonna die even faster. And John's like, I don't think it will, because that's my wolf, you know. And then they like run off, and that's the end of chapter 1. So Garrett got killed for warning the king, or trying to. I don't know if he actually did. You know, they kind of, it gets blurry when Stark goes over, because it's Bran and the brothers talking. So, but, you know, he gets his head lopped off. Theon's a little meh and kicks it. You know, so basically, rich and title kids are Garrett's downfall twice. And then they all have baby wolves, which, see, that's dope though. Like, you know, they got pet dire wolves, which are giant. Like, hopefully they're like D&D dire wolves, where they're smarter and like bigger and whatever. And then John's got like an albino one with like the red eyes, so that's cool. But yeah, that would be chapter 1, Bran, the Muffin Man himself. All right. Oh, sorry, forgot to sign off. This is Tory Torrential. I love you. Thanks for watching my show. Like and subscribe.